Hi, I'm Wanda with Jimmy Branch Homestead, and today I'm going to be freeze drying basil. And this morning in my daily harvest, I decided to harvest the basil. So the way I preserve my basil is by freeze drying. If you've ever purchased freeze dried basil versus regular dried basil, you can really tell the difference. It has much more of that fresh basil taste. So that is what I'm hoping to preserve today. And so I have a freeze dryer tray out here. I am going to just start taking all of the basil off the leaves. I use a lot of basil, especially in my spaghetti sauce. Probably put a lot more of it in there than most people. But I just really love the taste of basil in my sauces like that. I want to start cooking with it more in other things too, like in making pestos and stuff like that. So looking forward to having a lot of this basil freeze dried. The nice thing about freeze drying is it does taste much more like fresh than dried. So I'm just picking the leaves off of the stems, and if I have a bad spot, I just tear it out. Quite a bit of basil will fit on these trays. Okay, so I have loaded 4 trays with my basil leaves. Had enough to fill the 4, which is what my freeze dryer holds. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the covers on them. Oops. And these covers are actually sold separately. They are from Harvest Right. I found them in a store that also sells the Harvest Right freeze dryer where you could order it. So I just love them because I like to pre-freeze all of my items before I freeze dry them. And this allows me to stack them in the freezer, get them good and frozen, and then when I'm ready, I can just pull them out and stick them in the freeze dryer. So I'm going to get these in the freeze dryer, and once they are frozen good, in the next day or two, I will come back with you. It's going to be in the same video. So once they're frozen good, I'm going to come back and show you the next steps. Okay, so it's time to get the freeze dryer started, and I actually like to close the drain valve before I get started. And that is here on the left side. I also need to check my bucket, and I have water in it from the last load, so I will be dumping that out and putting it back. Then to turn it on, I reach around the back, and it does take a moment for it to boot up as it is a mini computer in here. So it says Harvest Right, initializing, and then loading. Okay, so now it comes up, and I do have an older model, so it says either customize or start, and I'm going to hit start. And then it has pre-frozen or not frozen. Now, new models do not have this on here. It automatically detects the temperature of the products put in and then adjusts the time accordingly. I always pre-freeze my stuff, or I usually pre-freeze my items. So I'm going to hit pre-frozen. And right now it's going to freeze to 32 degrees, and then it will end up freezing down negative of 0. So we need to wait for this to get cold before I can put the trays in. Okay, so the freeze dryer is ready. It says to load the food into the freeze dryer and close the drain valve. But if you remember, I already closed the drain valve. So we're gonna go ahead and get the trays of the basil. Okay, so these are the 4 trays of basil that I previously froze. And we just need to take the lids off each one. Yeah, there we go. Oh, they shrunk up when they froze. Oh well. I have another load of basil that I need to do for long because I need to go harvest again already. It smells so good. And I really prefer the freeze drying of them versus dehydrating. A, because it gets all of the moisture out, but B, it actually tastes fresher. So let's take these into the other room and I'll meet you there. Okay. Leaves falling off the bottom of that one. Okay, so I'm going to hit continue. And now it's going to continue freezing, and this is the point where it's going to drop below 0. So when it gets to the drying mode, I will bring you back and show you what that looks like. Okay, we have entered the first drying mode, and this is the first time I've ever seen small batch mode, because I usually do very full trays, and once the basil froze, it kind of shrunk up to nothing in there. So, I'll keep you posted. Since the leaves shrunk up so much whenever they froze, the dry time has gone by quickly. It's already in the second final dry. The green bar is completed and we only have an hour and a half left. I am getting ready to go to bed, so I am just going to increase this so it'll be on until in the morning, at which time I can take care of it then. Well, it is the next day and the process is complete. It was actually complete last night. It only took about 12 hours for this small batch, but I extended it just so that I could work it into my schedule rather than have to get up in the middle of the night and do it. I started it pretty late yesterday, so I think next time if I start it early in the morning, 7 or 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, then it would be ready and I could package it before I go to bed. So, the first step that we need to do is to open the drain valve, which is on the left side. Now with this process, I need to work very quickly. I have shut off my air conditioning because sometimes the moisture from that actually starts going back into the food. So I'll meet you in the kitchen. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just dump these all into one so I can crunch them up together with them being dried. Well, maybe two. hard to believe these were heaped up when they were green. And I'm going to just kind of crunch them up with my hands. Shoot, drop something on the floor. If you wanted a powder, you could actually, just grind it up in a food processor or some other method. But I like to just use my hands where it's more like small flakes, which is how you usually buy it. Yes, please. You brought me my funnel. And I actually still have another picking out there. They've already exploded out there again. That's the thing about basil. When you harvest and you cut it back, it really grows back. And it really produces. So the more you trim it, basically, the more it grows. Now at this point, every once in a while, I see some that are kind of more like stick stem pieces of the leaf. I just want to pick those out. And that's basically from the bigger leaves. The smaller ones just crunch right up. I mean, you can leave them in and just, like I said, grind it up a little bit more, but I want to take the biggest ones out. But personal preference. And then I like to store mine in glass jars, but you can also get the spice bottles. However, I like to put them in my jars so that I can seal them better and really ensure their freshness. Some of this got ground up pretty small, considering I was just using my fingers. It's amazing that you don't end up with that much once it's all crumbled up. I think I had like 3 or 4 basil plants is all I had. So this will be more than enough to last us a year. I use it mainly in spaghetti sauce, and I do use a lot of it in my spaghetti sauce compared to most people. I like the taste of basil in spaghetti sauce. So by the time I do my next batch, I might have most of a pint. So I may end up having, if I have several more pickings, moving up to a quart. Or I might just do it in a pint. Now, the trick to keeping this really fresh, that gave us like right at half a pint for 4 trays. Yes, it shrinks a lot when it's dried. So the trick is I'm going to vacuum seal it. So it's going to suck all the air out of it. At this point, I could put an oxygen absorber in it, but it's taking all the oxygen out, so I don't really see the need. We put the lid, center it on the jar, and then we take the little cap here and put it down evenly over the top. And for some reason, there we go. There. I want to make sure it's down all the way around, because that might have been what caused it. Okay, try this again. You can kind of hear it changing tones as it's sucking the air out. Yeah, I can see a little bit of movement in the leaves down here. Depends on how big or whatever the product is that you're putting in the jar, if you can really see the movement in the jar. Okay, that should do it. Oops. And we have a nice sealed jar. So each time I use this, I actually use this pry lid. You can buy these on Amazon, and they are really nice because they open it without bending the lid, so that you can open it, use what you need. I fill my smaller spice shaker, and then I just reseal it. So reseal it every time, and that will help to keep all the moisture out and keep your product fresh. So if you're enjoying this type of video, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and share our videos on your social media. It's the best way that you can help our channel to grow. Thank you so much for watching Jimmy Branch Homestead. Take care and God bless.